Oh, I'm good. Thanks for asking. All right, guys, welcome back to another stream. We're picking up where we left off last night on What Remains of Edith Finch. I mean, so far it is a very interesting but very good game. The different segments that you play, well, they're really they're really well done. They're fun, but then again, you kind of realize that you're playing the final moment of that character's life. So you're pretty much playing, the moment they die.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
I used to love putting little flip books like this together.
I was 4 when Milton disappeared. Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors. Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
Well, I mean, my flip books were never very good, but I still enjoyed making them though.
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Lewis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery. Everyone always told me to stay out of Lewis's room. Except Lewis.
Oh, look at that. That legalized marijuana. Yeah, man. So this is uh, added a bolt onto the house. Way up there. Oh.
Lewis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on. He was so proud of being Indian. I think for him, it was a way to be something other than just a Finch.
Now that would be an awesome view to have.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery,
Slide,
but he
cut,
withdrew part of
toss.
himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to wander.
All right. Huh.
I asked him to describe it.
Okay, so mouse for the fish and
He said he
keyboard
started
keys for the
small,
person. Oh,
imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads. And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head.
that's
But
very
he took it very
interesting.
seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him.
Oh,
It seemed very promising at first.
oh, you know something's going to happen.
He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. songs for them to play.
That way.
He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something.
It's like, which one do I pay attention to, the fish or
Every
the...
day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination. So he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor,
Mr. Fish.
and he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis. Until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery.
Oh, the fish are distracting me.
Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Louis kept sailing on.
Yeah, it's getting bigger and bigger.
In Louisburg, he heard rumors of a
Hey.
handsome queen.
Oh, now there's choices too. Come on, turn boat.
The queen was on her own quest for radiant rainbows.
You gotta get those rainbows.
He followed the sound of her electric sitar.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, oh, oh.
His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound.
Oh, can't see the chopper anymore. Well, barely. The lower right.
He knew the world was all in his imagination.
Oh.
But he was so proud of having created it.
Oh, geez.
In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a
Oh,
king.
check that out.
For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Louis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him. began to forget the world we know.
Well, I think it's safe to say that's his locker, though.
I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt.
Kind of missing the fish there.
I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on inviting him.
I gotta say, though, that this sequence is very impressive. Hey, Molly.
His queen waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head.
Oh.
The rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
Yeah, I mean, most of these sequences that we played so far, they've been really impressive. Like with Molly, where you start out as her, then you leap out the window, become a cat, and from there you become an owl, then a shark, and then a sea monster. Well, like I said, though, at the end of most of them, though, man, it's pretty sad, though, because you realize you're playing, like I said, their death, pretty much. Last day they've been alive. Like Gregory there, the baby, he drowned in a bathtub. Gus, I think he died in a storm. Now, Walter, that was a sad one, though. I mean, he was under the house, it was like a, some kind of bomb shelter that he had locked himself in for like 30 some years. Then he finally took a sledgehammer and, busted the wall. Then got hit by a train. Oh.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left.
Oh, I was wondering what that was, stepping on bubble wrap. I love little touches like that.
My mom ended up leaving everything behind. What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner. But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night.
Oh, I agree. It is sad, especially when you consider too that they were all avoidable deaths. So, like the one that had the swing, wanted to swing all the way around the branch, and it was just so close to the cliff that, well.
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
Alright, before we do this, I need to take a very quick break. Just a couple minutes. Be right back. Alright then, less than a couple minutes then.
the power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sailed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
Nice. I remember this was the first door, or the first peephole we looked through.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning, okay?
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way. I got turned around. I started seeing things.
Now, something I always like about this is you never truly get lost in the game because the words that pop up, if you notice, they guide you. So, I appreciate that.
Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it. Let go. I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly.
Oh, that was a nice touch with that and the words.
She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes and appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you and tell you all these stories myself. But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Oh. So that would be Edith's son then. And the sequence just before that would be as him being born then. So what remains of Edith Finch then? Well, what? It would have been her son then, right? Man, that's my first time playing this. I gotta say, it was really, 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 really good. I really didn't know what to expect going into it, and just wow. Now that Annapurna Interactive, I know they're the publisher. They also published, what was it, the recent game Stray? There's a lot of people call it the cat game. Oh, excellent. You can go back and play each of those then, I guess. Right? Yeah. Yeah, really, really impressed with that. I know it's the game's been out for a while, but still, like I said, my first time playing it, really, really enjoyed it. And since we finished that, I think we'll have to call it there for the night. I got to get an early start tomorrow. So tomorrow tomorrow night we'll probably start probably the vanishing of Ethan Carter. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for stopping by. As always, I appreciate it. So until tomorrow night, I hope you have a good rest of your night or day.